All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Buckle Bomb. One of your hosts, Starboy Primo Campos. That's me. Other hosts, go ahead and introduce yourself, boy.
Jay Mazing.
Love to hear it, Jay Mason. Back with the amazing commentary along me. But today, more importantly, our guest, our boy, Zac Taylor.
Zac Taylor.
That is me, Zac
Yes.
Taylor, without the "-y" at the end.
Zachary.
Yeah, get it right.
Yeah,
Well,
boy.
I'm not going there.
The self-proclaimed last hero.
Last Hero Academia.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, My Hero Academia. Do you like anime?
I do, of
You do?
course.
Fun fact, he's wearing an anime SpongeBob shirt, which I felt very weird about when you walked in today because I've never seen SpongeBob look like he's ready to just like beat me up and take my like lunch money and my milk. But it's a cool shirt though.
It's a grimy anime too. It's a full episode.
Wait.
Yeah. It's
Wait,
a
really?
real thing. It's a real thing.
SpongeBob has an anime episode?
It's a dude. I think his name is like Narmak or something.
Oh, it's like a fan-made one?
Yeah, but it's super legit. It's like a full blown anime. He got Japanese voice actors. He has an American what do you call it? A dubbed version.
Oh my god, he went all out.
He went full blown.
Nice.
Like it's good.
That's actually fire. Is that on YouTube?
It is.
But shout out to the boy. Everyone go to YouTube after you listen to the podcast, of course. Yeah, so you have an affinity for anime?
I do.
I'm guessing. Do you incorporate that with your wrestling?
I do very little, but I do
You do?
because me and a few of the boys. It's me, Ethan Price, Cody Lane. Y'all know him as ACH.
Yeah.
And then there's Joe DeMero, Mark Champion, Jeff Gant,
Jesus.
and then myself.
You just dropped a bunch of big names.
It's a stacked team.
We
Yeah.
make up a group of friends who also call ourselves Team Super Academia.
Oh, yeah.
So I've translated some of that to wrestling because we're all big My Hero fans.
That's awesome.
And that is why I do have my only real anime incorporated move is my comeback.
Mm-hmm.
It's a corner drop kick, Uranagi backbreaker, and a brain buster.
Yeah.
It's called Plus Ultra.
That's awesome. That's actually really cool.
I like it.
Have you ever like thought about incorporating the anime My Hero into like your ring?
No,
attire?
because actually, well, that's a lie. Because the first four of us that were a part of Team Super before we grew into this huge group, it was just me, Albert, Cody, and Chris.
Really?
So, which Chris is Ethan Price, Cody's Cody, Albert's ACH, and it was just us four. And basically, it was Albert was All Might, obviously. Then you had
Very fitting.
Krusty. I'm gonna call him like 8 names. Chris, Ethan Price, whatever you want to call him.
You said Krusty?
Krusty, yes.
Wait, hold on. Okay, not to cut you off, where does Krusty come from?
So, Chris and Christy, Becca,
Christy James?
Christy
Right,
James,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Back when I first started, before Papa Don was running the school, George, my trainer, he was trying to say Christy, I'm sure, and was trying to, but he was looking for Chris, and then he just ended up yelling Krusty, and it just never went away.
That's awful.
Just like that.
That's awful.
So yeah, All Might is Albert.
Yeah.
Then you have Chris, who's Deku, which is Midoriya.
Yeah, Midoriya.
Then you have
Shout out.
Bakugo, which is Cody, and then myself, I was Todoroki.
Ooh.
So
I was gonna ask who is your favorite My Hero character? Would that be your favorite?
Todoroki was definitely my favorite at the gate, but you get so many like emotional connections to so many of the characters. It's really hard to just really pinpoint and want one person to do really good.
Yeah.
It's like at the beginning you're kind of like whatever about Endeavor, and by the end you're like, dude, this guy's awesome. By the season finale, you're just like, oh, and so there's so many people where you're just you start off not caring about them, and then next thing you know you realize that you love them. So it's just hard to really go, yeah, this guy's my favorite.
Right. I'll say Lemillion. I know I just butchered his name. I hated him at first because I was like, man, who does he think he is? Like coming up to Midoriya like that. And then at the end of that season, I was like, I love him.
Exactly.
Also, is it I forgot her name. Oh, I feel such a bad person. Is it Erie? Girl at the end of the last season. She can restore people.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how to pronounce her name either.
Yeah,
The one with the little bitty horn.
Yeah, the little horn.
Something like that.
I love her with all my heart. That whole season, I swear to the Lord above. Like, there are a few things in this world that make my heart feel like it's growing. And every episode she was in, I was like,
that did it.
honestly, she's so cute, and she has such a terrible past. I'm like,
Between Midoriya and Lemillion during that whole arc, it was just like every episode you were like, oh,
it was gripping, man.
Stop it.
Oh,
Stop.
it was gripping.
Stop.
Honestly,
It hurts.
yeah. At the end of that season, after, no, I was gonna say spoilers, but it's been out for a while, right? Like, how long has it been out? Last
Still
season.
spoilers for someone who's not gonna. That one person who didn't watch.
Yeah, to that one guy who didn't watch, go ahead and mute this next part.
Man, how about you watch it, nerd? How about that? How about we call him out? Because we're big, strong men in wrestling. How about that? Can we do that? No?
Yeah.
Am I a bully?
Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, do your thing, man.
Watch it, nerd. There you go. I got my bullying for the day.
There you go.
Nah, that scene whenever after the school festival, because the whole point of that episode, or that kind of that whole season, is like to make her like feel happy, to like get her feel normal.
Right.
And then after the end of the season where she was like, I had a good time, I swear to God, my heart was just like, oh, it's gonna break.
Then she gave that first smile.
Yes, when she smiled. Oh my God. That was like, I popped so hard. I wanted to get off my couch and just wave my arms around and scream.
I didn't cry because I'm a man, but you know, I was close.
Right, yeah.
I was close. Like the tear was like trying, but I was like,
Sucked
Put it back in.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm a little boy because I cried like a little punk. Not CM Punk. Shout out wrestling fans. Bring it back. But yeah. So you said your comeback is called the Plus Ultra, right?
Plus Ultra.
But no, you don't have anything else incorporated with anime.
No, I used to have a set of gear because I was doing the Todoroki thing.
Yeah.
That was half white and half red, and then had my same logos and stuff on it, and that was like my Todoroki shout out. And then I have my kick pads that ACH gave me that has One Piece on it.
I've never watched One Piece.
It's good.
Oh.
I'm only like 140-ish episodes into the 1,000 episodes, so.
Yo, people with Naruto are like that. They're like, I'm only on episode 600. It's no big deal, dude. Just get into it. It's like, huh? That's my whole life.
I've watched all 220 of Naruto, all 500 of Shippuden, and I'm
Are you kidding me?
100 and some odd into Boruto, so I feel it.
I would rather chew on glass than try to binge that, because that's like homework. That feels like homework, right?
It's only homework if you don't enjoy it.
True that. I felt the same way about Attack on Titan when I first started watching it. Because, like, have you guys seen Attack on Titan?
Yeah. That was hard to get into.
Season 3.
It was the first season.
Yeah, it was real slow.
Yeah, it's really slow in the beginning, but once it gets going, you're like, like it's like, Mr. Krabs meme, bring it back to your anime SpongeBob, where, he's like gripping the table and it's like vibrating everywhere. Like, yeah, Attack on Titan was really hard to get into in the beginning. But yeah, after that, for people who haven't watched Attack on Titan, please watch it. It's so good.
It's just a bunch of really big, weird-looking people biting on really little people.
I feel weird on it. Well, I mean, to break it down.
Yeah, that's...
Is it bad that whenever I look at some of the Titans in that, when I look at some of the Titans on that, I like compare them to people I see in real life? No. I'm like, you would totally be... Eli? Big Amish?
Yeah.
Yes, that dude is a Titan.
He is a Titan.
Dude, sometimes, like, I'll be jumping up on the curb to, like, get into the school, and he'll be standing over me, and I'm like, you better not grip me and, like, bite my head off, because you...
a YouTube football player who started training here, and his name was Titan.
That's scary. I thought you were going to say he bit somebody, or bit into someone.
Pretty sure he's on one of these flyers somewhere.
I mean, maybe, yeah. His name was... They called him Titan. His name was Buck.
Buck. What a cool dude. Buck and Titan.
Yeah,
jeez.
His name was Buck, and he went by Titan.
He got all the cool names.
And he was a big dude. Like I said, he played for UT football, and he came here. And back when we were still in Pflugerville, it was like his second, maybe third day, I don't know, and class was over. Everyone was happy, and we were ready to leave, and we did a couple practice matches.
Yeah.
And right when we were about to head out the door, George was like, Zach, get in there with Buck and have a match. And I was like, oh, man, George, he doesn't know how to do anything. But I was like, I believe in my abilities to do this, so I'm like, screw it, let's do it. So I go in there, and we're having a match, and I'm like, all right, we got to end this thing, right? Let's get to the ending of it. And he has me in the corner. He comes at me. I move out the way. I go for a schoolboy. I go for the schoolboy, and he rolled back, and his knee just blew out.
Oh.
I was like, oh, no. no, just whole thing just dislocated his whole kneecap. And I was like, no. And then we had to go to the hospital, the whole thing. And everyone's like, Zach, don't feel bad. I'm like, don't worry, I don't, because it wasn't my fault. I
wasn't bad.
Right. Like I did my move properly. It was just a freak accident.
That's unfortunate. You hear about a bunch of those freak accidents all the time in wrestling. It's like wrestling is it can be weirdly so safe, even though it looks so brutal. Like the whole, the biggest one I think most people think of is the Finn Balor and Seth Rollins at SummerSlam.
Right. Yeah.
Or unfortunately Seth and Sting.
Sting.
Yeah, that one was unfortunate. I was really hoping to see Sting. But yeah, you talking about having matches with people back in Pflugerville, the old location. You're a trainer here. Would you call yourself a trainer?
Yes.
I would like to call you a trainer. Here at AAPW. How long have you been? Let's start it off with wrestling. How long have you been wrestling?
I have been wrestling since my brother told me the date once, and I'm going off of that because me and him started on the same day.
Oh.
I'll go into that if you ever
get
into
absolutely.
it. But my brother says that we started on August the 10th of 2012.
Ooh.
So I'm just a little over that 8-year mark. And that's how long. I debuted with the school just 3 months later in November.
Jeez Louise. I'm trying to get like that, man. Gosh.
So you feel like you really picked up on everything pretty quick? Or?
No? I was the most unconfident person, but George was way more like strict when it came to like throwing students in like before they were ready. Like Pop does a really good job at making sure that he believes that you're ready. Some of them aren't, but you know, he still does his best. But George was really good at just going, do it.
Do it.
Don't get me wrong. I was better 3 months in than a lot of the guys are now. And there's always going to be different groups of people. I've seen so many, groups of people come through the school, and some of them get it right away, some of them don't get it right away. And I was one of those people who just kind of got it a little better right away. Yeah. So I did start in 3 months, but I remember 3 months in, and it's my first match ever. And we call the whole thing, and everything's gonna go, and we're just like, all right, man, we're gonna do this, blah blah blah. I'm going over it in my head. We're reviewing it, and blah blah blah. And then finally we go out, and I, go into the first lockup, whip the guy off. He shoulder tackles me. I hit the floor, and I go, I forgot the whole match. Like instantly, like day one, very first bump, the whole match went
just lights out,
gone, the whole thing. And that was my first experience with like a live audience.
Was that like stage fright, you think? Is that what that was? Or
it was a mixture of stage fright and what I learned to be just a bad memory.
Oh.
It took me my first year to really grasp what I was doing in the ring. And some people have good memory. Some people can just go through it.
Yeah.
Some people brand new. If you tell them do this, and they just immediately get to it. And some people like me, when I first started, I just could not. And then I would just have these episodes with my brother because he seemed like he was the gifted one, and I was just the one that was like, I'm also here, you know.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you can do, if you can't do it by memory, just work by feel. And I'm like, I can't do that either. And then I was just like a big ball of nerves before all the shows. I'm just like, I can't remember anything, and I can't listen in the ring because I can't ever hear anything.
Yeah.
And I was just this big ball of nerves. And then, one day I was you're just there, and then something goes, and you go, what? Whoa, okay. I just get it now.
Yeah.
And that's just, one day I just kind of got it. But I will say that a lot of it's because once I started leaning more towards like teaching others instead of like just listening all the time, I realized that when you're explaining things to people, you are in turn explaining it to yourself, and sometimes the information will stick better when you're trying to explain why something's done a certain way. Yeah. Because in your head you're going, oh yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. So once I started teaching, which took me I was about 2 or 3 years in before I actually started like instructing anyone.
Wow.
And that's when I really started taking that turn. But then also, I'm just kind of rambling here, but
no, keep going.
Then also, as I was training, we had Georgia school that was still running, 3, sometimes 4 days a week because they'd do Saturdays if there wasn't a show.
Yeah.
And then Paul London came into town, and then Paul started running training through George's school,
Yeah.
and he was doing like a separate thing. So it was like Paul's classes at this time of day, and then there was George's classes at this time of day. And then I linked up with Paul, and then I started doing those training sessions too. So I was training anywhere up to 6 days a week.
Ooh.
From my background with George and kind of really hammering in the basics.
Yeah.
I did at least like 3 or 4 times of just basics. You know, the beginner class, the same thing that I teach here.
Right,
I
yeah.
did that over and over, and that's why I teach the beginning classes, those things so well, because I got those fundamentals and basics pounded into me because I was doing them. I was doing it so many times, and then I've teach so many generations of like new wrestlers. They're like Vega Del Rio. The one, you know, I taught him his first headlock. And then
That's crazy.
Delilah Doom. I taught her first headlock. You know, there's so many people who I've seen when they first walked into the business, and I had hands on with them when they very first started, and that's why I'm able to do that so well. But I would between, you know, training people with George and then going to Paul's classes and then doing shows out on the road, I was doing so much that I feel like I jumped in performance like suddenly, because I was acquiring all this information all at the same time. And then at the same time, I'm underneath Albert's wing, and so I got Albert talking to me on a constant basis. I got Paul London in my ear, and then my original trainer George, I had him in my ear. So I was just taking in all this information.
Right.
And in wrestling, you get to pick and choose. Like, oh, I like this. I don't like this. Take this. You know. And I just learned so much information at one time. So it was an interesting time in my life.
Yeah, you didn't feel any like information fatigue or like decision fatigue from that? Because I know that's just like cramming for a test. It's like you cram, that's so much information and you can't handle it all, and then it's like, well, now I forget everything because I overloaded myself. Like, you didn't feel any of that while that was going on?
Because whenever you're very first starting to learn, you know, you have all this information that's being given to you, right? Like, this is how you do a break fall, this is how you do your lockup, this is how you go around the world, this is how you do, and then you have all these things that they're trying to teach you as far as fundamentals, like this is exactly what you need to know. But the thing about me was that I was already a couple years in, so I had I kind of started shaping who I wanted to be, so they got to give me things that they felt were good for me, opposed to this broad generalization of this is what everyone's learning right now, you know. So instead of going, all right, everyone's learning this, it was like, okay, Zach, I think you should do this. Like
it's real personalized.
Right, like the Frankensteiner that I do, I do the atomic drop into the Frankensteiner. That's my like homage to Paul, because that was something that I very first saw Paul do. He would do the Frankensteiner, then he'd hold his groin like, you know, mocking them, then he'd jump up and give him Frankensteiner. So, you know, once Paul was gone, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that, you know, like that's kind of like
cool.
My homage to Paul. So I always do that's my shine, Frankenstein, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, whenever I was in Paul's classes, he was like, oh, we're going to go over Frankensteiners. I was like, I've never done a Frankensteiner. And Paul was like, what? You should be doing Frankensteiners. So he taught me how to do a Frankensteiner. And then I was like, cool. So since Paul taught me how to do a Frankensteiner, and it was something that he regularly used, I was like, this will be my move for Paul. I'll use the Frankensteiner for it.
Jeez.
To kind of take it back to your role as a trainer, do you have any kind of, like, do you feel a certain way whenever you see one of the people that you helped train, helped get into the business, find success in it?
You know,
or do you typically not keep up with people's careers past once they get out of here?
So I've watched people that I've helped get places, you know, travel and go around from state to state and do their thing and get on pretty cool shows and stuff like that. But at the beginning, you're like, this is so cool to like watch. And sometimes it's like, whether it's someone that I help train or if it's someone who's been like one of my, I wouldn't say that I don't have any classmates, because no one that was from my group really stayed along.
You hear that a lot. I've been like, all of our guests that we've had so far, they've always said that, like, just
always like the last of,
like, people get
started.
weeded out. Yeah.
And then I always say, when I have a new group of kids, I'm like, hey, look around at all your friends, your pals, like, one, maybe two of you are going to make it out of here.
I remember you saying that in the beginning, yeah.
So, like, I've watched people go, not people that I've trained, but I've watched people go off to, you know, Japan. I've seen people go, you know, to England. I've seen people go to NXT. I've seen people go to AEW. You know, these people that I know and I talk to, and, you know, and at the first, you're just kind of like, man, this is really cool, because it makes the dream more possible. Because once you can look at those people and be like, oh, they're doing it, that's pretty cool. I can also do it because I talk to these people. I know these people. I know the life they live. It's not just a facade of only what I see on TV.
Yeah.
But after a while, you do kind of get into that mode where it's like, all right, I'm tired of congratulating everybody. I'm also in this for myself.
Yeah.
You know, and saying congratulations can start getting tiring because you're
I
like,
bet.
no one's congratulating me because I'm not making it to that level. So, you know, good job. It goes from I'm proud, congratulations, to good job, I'm glad you made it. I'm about to start
Yeah, the hunger
doing
comes
my
back.
thing
Right.
to
Yeah,
get there with you. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I've had those moments though.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I'll say, like, out of, I'd say you and Steve-O are, like, basically the head trainers here. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think Adam has been training a little bit more frequently than me. But once again, Adam's one of those dudes that I had a lot of hands on when he first started, because it's actually a pretty cool thing that there's the very first Team Super picture between me, Cody, Krusty, and Albert was taken in the Pflugerville location behind the scenes, and it was just our first time. We were all just on a show together, and we had already been friends and stuff, but we never just been on a show together. So it was our first time on a show together. We all had worked over there, and I think it was for like George's retirement or something. And then Albert was like, "Hey guys, I want to take a picture with all of you," and you can see it on Instagram somewhere. It's like Albert standing in the middle, and he's doing like a double thumbs up, pointing at us, and we're all on the side, just looking like, you know, little freshmen of, you know, wrestling, just like, oh, we're in the picture, you know.
Yeah.
And we just, you know, told someone, hey, come here, can you take a picture of us real quick? And gave him the, you know, and took the picture. And then years later, talking to Adam, he's like, yeah, man, you know, the first time I, you know, had an encounter with you guys, like, y'all asked me to take a picture with y'all. And I'm like, oh,
That's awesome.
But I'm like, dang, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
he was like, me and Adam became such good friends, and he became such good friends with the group. And it turned out that one person that we were just like, hey, snap this picture for us real quick, happened to be him.
That's so cool.
And then, you know, flash forward, he's, you know,
He's killing it right
part
now.
of the group.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was really like that cool, like it all comes around eventually kind of things, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, but what I originally was gonna say is, since you and Steve are like, I would say, you know, you're teaching, you know, our beginner class, and Steve-O is like, you know, teaching the intermediates and advanced. Is that the correct way to say that? I'd say you two are definitely the most like deserving of spots somewhere else. I was talking to Pops during the last show, during yours and Steve-O's matches, and he was like, I don't know if Pops wants me to say this or not. I don't know if it's like confidential, but I mean, like, he's really
Too late. You already started the sentence.
true that.
Hey, brother.
Yeah, he was talking to me and he got real sentimental. He was like, man, like, I'm afraid of losing these guys. Like, they deserve to be somewhere. Like, he was talking about how great you and Steve were. And watching you guys wrestle, I can already tell that you guys definitely deserve to be somewhere. Steve-O got his shot at SWE a few weeks ago. And then, like, I watched you wrestle Adam, and I've seen you, you know, teaching people, obviously teaching me and teaching other people. And it's like, I wonder that a lot. I'm like, why is he here? Like, I feel like you deserve to be somewhere else. Have you gotten any offers anywhere? Are you allowed to say if you have?
No, I haven't got any offers for anyone that could potentially pay my bills or anything like that. I wrestled for some decent sized companies. I was Inspire Pro champion for a little while. I wrestled at ACW, which is a pretty local known. Austin. I was a Young Guns champion over there. I wrestled for like VIP like once, but you know, this business is weird, and if you can talk nice to the right people, then your opportunities will show in a certain light. And me being a very heavily introverted person, I just don't talk to those people the right way. And I'm not very cliquey. I'm a very solo kind of guy.
Yeah.
So it's hard when I go on these shows. Don't get me wrong, I have been acknowledged by some of the best in the state.
Yeah.
But because I'm not one of their like boys, I just don't get presented with the same opportunities. And you know, just being straight up, there's the same people have been running Texas since I started. Damn near, you know, and I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with not running Texas because, one, I'm confident in my abilities. I know how good I am.
Rightfully so.
And I know that I'm only going to get better, and I have, you know, big dreams, aspirations and such. And I also know that I don't want to put myself in this box of being one of the best in Texas, because once people get that, you know, moniker, attached to them.
Yeah.
You're
Either anchored.
You're regional, and two, you're anchored. You're just one of the best in Texas.
Yeah.
You know,
that's one of those things where it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, that's crazy. But yeah, you and Steve-O are definitely deserving of getting a spot somewhere. Like you guys in the ring, you guys are. I mean, I'll go ahead and mark out. Like you guys are naturals. Like watching you. I've seen you I don't know if it's breaking kayfabe, but watching you and Adam perform like practice matches inside the ring, like you let me ref one of those last week, and it was like I told you, I was like straight up, I was like that's one of like the best like matches I've seen like live, and it was a practice match like here with students, like you're just practicing in the middle of a ring. I really hope you go somewhere because it's really amazing to watch you wrestle and coach, because you're a good trainer too, man. You go underneath, like you know how to push people, but not too far where they're like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. Right. But you do it to a point to where it's like, okay, like if I'm struggling right now, I'm gonna push through because this guy's pushing me. I really appreciate that. We have a good trainer dynamic here at AAPW. We really do, because you got you. I feel like you play both sides. Like you can be mean, and you're very giving and nice. And you got Adam. Adam will go up to you and he's like, hey, man, like you need to, nut up or shut up and just get it done. And then Steve-O is so nice. Right. It warms my heart when Steve-O's talking to people because he's so calm and gentle. But yeah, you guys are all deserving of spots.
Oh man, I really appreciate that.
Made that real sappy.
Podcast, you can never tell when someone's crying, and I'm bawling over here. It's so. But no, honestly, I do appreciate that. And after COVID and all this long time off of wrestling and so forth, I finally found that myself in that position where I was like, you know what, the hunger's returned.
Yeah.
And I'm at that position where I'm like, I truly believe that I can make something of all of this,
100%.
So I'm really in that moment where I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go and do this, because I remember I tell this story to some people that I'm close to. When I first started, day one, I walked into a show at AAPW on Shirley Lane like 8 years ago, and I sat in George's office for the very first time, and this is the very first time I've seen this man eye to eye, and I've never taken a bump. I've never done anything before, and he starts asking me all these questions, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, so can you see yourself in the ring with the big names, like on TV and this and that, this and that? And I remember looking him in the eye and being like, yeah, man, of course. And to this day, I'm like, man, I lied to that man, right to his face, I looked at him and I lied to him. I was like, I can totally see. But there's no way on earth I could truly see that, because one, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And I wanted to wrestle, but I didn't know that I wanted to wrestle. I knew I wanted to get into training, but I didn't know I wanted to wrestle. Right. Wrestling was my brother's dream. He wanted to wrestle.
Oh, wow.
If you asked my brother what he wanted to do when he grew up, he would be like, I want to be a professional wrestler. If you ask me what I want to be when I grew up, one moment it's a race car driver, not again. One moment it's a race car driver, next moment it's a police officer. And then, I was that kid who just wanted to do like stuff. And then my brother's like, I want to be a wrestler. He watched wrestling and blah, blah, blah. I watched wrestling, but I looked at different things. I would just look at the crowd yelling and cheering and stuff. Yeah. And then sometimes I'd watch the stuff in the ring, but I was just kind of focusing on the dynamic of like, man, they're in front of all those people and they're cheering and doing all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so one day, true story, I'm sitting at my house. I'm 19 years old, and I go, what am I going to do with myself? I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. I don't know what I want to do. I've started working at this job. I barely started working when I was 18. Yeah. I dropped out of school when I was 16, and I started working when I was 18, and then I was doing nothing, and I'm like, am I just going to work at this bingo hall forever? Which I still work at to this day. But I'm like, am I going to just work at this bingo hall for the rest of my life? And so I was like, what do I want to do as a career? What else could I do? And I didn't know. I had no idea. And I was sitting in my room, and I was just listening to a bunch of music, and then I discovered Hobson, and I started listening to all of his songs, and I was like just kind of going on a binge of his music. I just discovered him. Yeah. And then I listened to Ill Mind 5.
Yes.
And that song, as soon as I listened to that song, the message hit me hard.
Yeah.
The moment the song ended, I pulled out my laptop. I started Googling wrestling schools. Awesome. I found George that day, and then I started wrestling.
That's awesome. What? That's like a superhero like beginning.
That's the real reason why I'm a wrestler. I listened to Ill Mind of Hobson 5, and it was like a slap in the face, because he says lines like, kind of like, all you do is, do this and this and this, but you're not really trying to do anything, And he's like, in that song, he's like, pretty much telling you, like, you talk about wanting all this stuff, but you don't do anything to get it.
Yeah.
And you want all these good things happening in your life, but you're literally doing nothing for it. You know? You're living this false life of this and that, and that's all it is a facade, And I was just kind of like, you're right, man. Like,
right? You feel attacked when you listen to it.
Right. And so after listening to it, I was like, I got to do something. And then my brother, like, oh, he wants to wrestle. Yeah, I'll give it a try. I started Googling and doing all this other stuff. And, a few years before, I had played with the idea of Googling wrestling school. So I went to, like, Craigslist, and I was talking about looking to see what, I put, like, one of those ads, like, hey, man, I want to become a professional wrestler. Like, if you know anything, let me know. And then one dude, some, like, creepy dude on Craigslist messaged me, like, hey, we can train together,
Oh, God.
In our underwear or something like that. Right. That was a real message somewhere in
like
Craigslist. And then I was like, never mind, I don't want to wrestle, And then all those years later, oh, mine, blah, blah, blah. Talked to George, went into the school. Like, I listened to that song on, like, some weekday, and then I talked to George on the phone the next day, and then that Saturday I went to the AAPW show, and then George was like, so when do y'all think y'all can make, like, a financial commitment to do this? And I was like, I'll go to the ATM right now and pay you, like, let's do this.
Wow, that's commitment, man. That's determination too.
I haven't looked back since. And I actually, the cool thing is that my brother, like I said, it was his dream to be a wrestler, and I was actually able to, like, as soon as George messaged me back, I was like, holy crap, this is real. I pulled up my phone. Hey, yo. I have my phone up to my face, by the way, guys. I called my brother, and I was like, hey, yo, like, you still want to wrestle? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I found a place, like, And then I got to also realize, like, he also got to realize his dream through it. And it's a whole other thing. Like, me and him started tag teaming, and we started, doing things.
That's cool.
And then I realized that our passions were a little different, and I broke up the tag team, and then I just started kind of, and then he's just kind of, so. Yeah. It's just one of those things. But I'm still happy with what I'm doing, and I haven't looked back since, really. I've had a few breaks, but I've really been kind of, I'm happy with the name that I've created. I went from people either calling me by my brother's name. They'd call my brother's name is DG. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't know the difference between us.
Wow.
And they call me, hey, DG. They'd be like, or I meet them again, and they'd be like, DG? And I'm like, no, I'm the other one. I'm Zach, And I went from that to my name now being known throughout the state.
Yeah.
And my brother is just, oh, how's your brother?
That's a come up story right there. Mm-hmm. That really is, man. But to have that, like, harrowing kind of thought process at, you said you were 19 or 18, 19, 19. Yeah. That's such I feel like this should just be said for, like, all 19-year-olds or, like, early 20-year-olds. It's like, it sucks to have those thoughts, because I used to have those thoughts all the time, man. When I was like 18, 19, I'm like, what am I going to do with myself? But then you got to step back and just be like, yo, I'm only like a teenager still, or I'm only 20. I'm not supposed to have my life figured out. I just hope, if there is anyone that young listening to this podcast, don't overdo yourself or, like, think that way. I mean, for you, it worked out, though, because you got up and now you're doing what I presume you love. But yeah, like, that's such a hard thought to, have, because I'm not gonna lie, like, I still get it every once in a while, but you got to take a step back and be like, I'm not supposed to have everything made yet. Like, I'm only 22. Like, I'm not supposed to be having, like, 50 cars and a big mansion with my mom to live in and having kids and all that. But yeah, for you to feel that and then not feel kind of bogged down, I guess, and you actually went out and did it, that's pretty cool. Not a lot of people can say that.
It was an interesting step, because when I first started, man, it was tough, because once again, like, it wasn't something that I really knew much about. I watched enough wrestling with my brother and stuff growing up in the family, and then it became like a family thing to watch wrestling. And I watched some, but my favorite wrestler was Jeff Hardy, and
there you go, same here.
I was just kind of like, whatever. And like I was saying earlier, like, I want to wrestle, but I didn't, like, want to be a wrestler or whatever. Okay, I didn't know that I wanted to be a wrestler until I stepped into the ring.
Yeah.
And then once I started training for wrestling, I was like, I want to do this. Like, this is cool. Like, this is what I want to do.
When you first started wrestling, how did the bumps feel and running the ropes? Did you hate it, or were you like, oh yeah, like I can do this?
Horrible. Because right now I am a small guy. For the people who don't know who I am, and if you happen to be listening to this, I am 150 pounds. When I started wrestling, I was 120 pounds.
What?
Yes, I was 120 pounds. I was absolutely tiny.
Really?
And so everything hurt, you know? Everything hurt. And everyone was bigger than me.
Yeah.
You know, people call people who are 160 small.
Yeah.
And 160 was 40 pounds heavier than me, you know?
Oof.
I was tiny, you know? So everything hurt. Like, I can confidently say that I've had 2 concussions in wrestling.
Oof.
And both of them happened during training because I didn't tuck my chin.
Tuck your chin. You say that so much in in the beginner class. Literally every time someone takes a bump, did you tuck your chin? Are you tucking your chin? That's real, man. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Like one of my first few bumps I started doing, I guess I didn't tuck hard enough, and my head bounced. I didn't say anything because I didn't want you to get mad, but I definitely felt rattled. I went off to the corner, and I kind of just like, I don't know if you remember it or not. I was kind of sitting up there, and I was like, I really hope he can't tell that I'm going through it.
You looked like you were doing too well to where I knew, like, I'm like, something had to have happened to this kid at some point. He didn't take all of his first bumps perfectly. So, like, I knew, but you're good because you internalized it instead of like,
no sell, baby.
Every person, like, you've watched me get annoyed. Yeah. I can't handle every
yeah.
Shut up, like, get back in line and do it again. It hurts. Wrestling hurts.
It's supposed to, yeah. It's supposed to hurt. I mean, you want to do it safely, but obviously you're throwing yourself into the mat.
Right.
That's what I think. Because I won't lie, like the bumps really didn't hurt me all that much until I, hit my head. But like I didn't go home and was like, oh, like everything hurts. I was like, okay, I knew what I was going to get myself into. For those who don't know, I came here like early July, to help on production. And with being in production, I get to watch everyone train. So I was kind of already acclimated to how everyone was going through things already. And I'm, hearing those loud crashes, like my first time, I swear, every time someone took a bump, I was like, turning my head, I was like, oh my, are we popping off right now?
It did. It took a little while for me to get used to, too. I came in here in June, and, before production was moved out of the ring area, I was 15 feet away from what sounded like gunshots going off.
Yes, that's the best way to describe it. Yeah, I came in and like everyone was like, I was like, you guys are like killing yourselves. Please stop. I knew I wanted to wrestle, but I was like, I'm not gonna lie. My first few days, Jay, you probably remember this. I was like, oh, I can't wait to get in there. But then a part of me was like, yo, that looks like that hurts. Mm-hmm. But yeah, me being able to watch that for what, July, August, September. Yeah, September. I got to watch that for like 3 months. And so when I first started, I'm like, okay, like I've been studying, bringing it back to Midoriya, taking my notes, studying. Just watching everyone do it. I feel like that's definitely what helped me. Because I guarantee you, if I came in here without watching, I would have been scared for my life. Because I'm not gonna lie, those first few bumps, they hurt. They really do. Attacking the mat. I remember you kept looking at my bracelet. I remember in the early in the day, you were like, yo, that's a nice bracelet. Like, what are you doing with that? I was like, it just looks good. I like it. And as soon as I started taking bumps, I hurt myself with it. And I was like, Jay, please. And I threw my bracelet at you, and you're like, yeah, that's why.
I was just telling my girlfriend this story about that when he was coming in for his first day. I'm like, oh, man, you're started today, man. I give him a big handshake, and then my hand kind of touched his bracelet, and I grabbed him by the wrist, and I turned his hand over, and I looked at his bracelet, and he goes, hey, what you looking at my bracelet for, man? I go, hey, nothing, man, it's cool. And then later he's bumping, and then he's like, God, and he throws the bracelet, and I'm like, that's what I was looking at earlier.
Man, yeah, that first day, I'm not going to lie, I feel addicted to the bumps now. That's why I came in. I like to come in before the shows now, and I like to practice and get some stuff in. I'm not gonna lie. There's a thing called a bump card, right? I probably shouldn't be bumping.
People call it a bump card. They say you have a certain amount of bumps that you're gonna use up. You're young, man.
Yeah.
Your bump card.
Drinking my milk.
It renews.
Yeah, your bump card's like it's like time,
Yeah.
It's like if you walk down a path, right, and then you take a left, this is your future. But you take a right, this is your future. Same thing with your bump card. Your bump card's number could be like 5 million, and then you take a bad bump, and then all of a sudden it goes down to like 400,000. You're like, whoa, I just, severely ruined myself because I bumped wrong.
It's a bad bump.
But, you can take so many like fantastic bumps that, it either doesn't tick down one or or you only go down one. So your bump card's so high that these first ones aren't going to affect you.
Yeah.
Only a bad bump will affect you right now.
Getting ready for that swanton off the ladder, baby. Here we go.
My first wrestling injury was from a ladder.
Oh,
it wasn't from a ladder, but it was in a ladder match.
Oh, you didn't like jump off the ladder or anything?
No, I jammed my shoulder. I do a step in flatliner.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I did it last night.
You did.
I do a step in flatliner, and I was in a match with my brother. This is after we broke up, and we started doing our separate ways. So after we broke up, we started feuding because I was like,
"That's awesome."
How do you break up a tag team with your brother without feuding, right?
Yeah.
So we broke up. We started feuding. We had a ladder match for the Young Guns title, or ACW, and we had a ladder match. And I was doing the step in flatliner, and there was a ladder on the ground, pretty much where I was gonna land.
Yeah.
So I would normally land flat back. To avoid the ladder, I pulled myself in.
Oh no!
And then all of my weight and his weight came down on my right shoulder, and I just jammed everything in my right shoulder. And for the next 3 days, and longer than 3 days, but the next 3 days was when I was in the worst pain of my life. And I could not, I learned that day, like those days, that you can't move any muscle in your body that's not connected to your pectoral and your shoulder.
Yeah.
All your muscles are connected to that muscle. You try to move your abdomen, you try to sit up, you try to move anything you try to do, it's gonna send a signal to that shoulder. Yikes. And it was so painful. And like an idiot, I wrestled in a triple threat the next week.
Oh yes.
God. How early in the match was that happened?
It was actually near the end.
Near the end?
All I had to do after that was like an RKO off a ladder.
Oh, just an RKO off the ladder. Just land on your shoulder again.
RKO off a ladder. And at that point, I was like super skeptical. I was like, I should just, we could just throw this out of the match. We don't have to do this. But the other part of me was like, it'd be cool though. It was my first like gimmick match, I've always done like straight up matches. I never had like, ladder matches or this match or that match. I was never in those cool like gimmick matches. And then my first time in a ladder match, and I'm like,
you got to show out.
I want to do an RKO off a ladder. My inner child in wrestler was like, I want to do an RKO off a ladder.
This needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna RKO off a ladder. So I did it. But at the time after I did the flatliner. I jammed my shoulder. And I sold it. I was like, that hurt. But I didn't pay no attention. Adrenaline's still rushing. I'm good to go. Match is over. I won. I got the title. I'm good, It was actually a retention. I was already the champion. I retained the title. And everything was fine. And then after the show, I started feeling that pain in my shoulder. I'm like, oh, man, it's really starting to hurt. Oh, no. And then I finally got home, go to sleep. And I remember just waking up the next day, and I go, I cannot move my shoulder. And that was horrible.
Man, this is like one of my most favorite podcasts. Not to call everyone out, there's so much content here.
Oh yeah, for sure. We could talk with Zach for hours.
Honestly,
it seems.
I've only touched the beginning, so
God.
I want to bring.
All right, we got to get a part 2 soon.
Well, and before we wrap it up, touching on the beginnings, I don't know if you know this, but I wanted to bring it up. You were the first wrestling match I ever saw live.
Whoa!
In this building against Curtis Richter.
Oh, word?
Yep, that was a little over a year ago. I'd been talking with Papa Don for a month or so about coming in, either starting training or starting working in production, and that match was the first I got to get in on this.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice. Man, that's so cool.
I hit you up on Instagram. I marked out for a little.
You're the guy from Instagram?
I'm the guy from Instagram.
Oh, nice. I've had only 3 or 4 people who've hit me up on Instagram like, hey man, I'm interested in training, blah blah blah. And I think I actually told you hey, I'm actually the beginner. I think I told you that I'm the beginning trainer.
That's awesome.
So this was my full circle right here.
Nice. That is so cool.
I marked out for someone too. We'll wait until they come onto the podcast so I can touch on that.
We'll wait on it.
Yeah, we'll wait on it. But,
before we let you get out of here, Zach, I'm going to hit you with our patented 3 count.
If you use that, you owe us money. I'm calling you all out. I'm JK. We don't have that patented, copyrighted.
Yeah,
we're lying.
Yep, we just say that 'cause it sounds cool.
But yeah, go ahead.
3 minutes, rapid fire question. Answer how you like.
Cool.
As long as it's short, who cares? We don't know what we're doing. We're students. It's a school. We do what we want to.
We
Not
don't
really.
make the rules here.
We'll get beat up if we do what we want to by pops. But
Primo, I'll let you go ahead and get started.
everyone knows what I want to ask. Who has your favorite ring attire in the business right now?
Favorite ring attire in the business right now? Wow, I just stump me with the first question. Why don't you?
Hard-hitting questions.
I would have to say Marty Scurll.
Ooh.
Okay.
What does he have on him that you like so much?
Full attire, like entrance wear. Like,
like the little the plague mask or whatever that's called. I was
gonna steal it.
Yeah, really?
I wanted to. I
Yeah?
still might. Who knows?
How would you incorporate that into your character? How would you do it? Or would you just take the design and you're just like, yeah?
I'd take the design and just be like, if I were to do it, I would probably like lean towards, because I have the last hero going. I would probably use it like as like a mask, a vigilante-esque maybe, or I would probably use it in just some way to like, I don't know. I guess I would have to think about it a little bit more, but yeah.
I'd be down for that. I'd mark out for that. I'm not even gonna lie. But
yeah, sure. Favorite wrestling pay-per-view?
Favorite wrestling pay-per-view? I'm not good with like times and dates. I know people who are like, 1990. I'm not good at that. I absolutely love. It's a tie between Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, the retirement match, and then Daniel Bryan winning the World Heavyweight Championship.
At WrestleMania.
Yeah, beating Batista and
Orton.
And Orton, yeah. That was
good feel-good moment.
Not the whole pay-per-views, but those moments are so big that those pay-per-views win in my eyes.
Okay. Did you guys watch Clash of Champions? No. It was honestly, that's like the most sound pay-per-view WWE has done like in a while. It was good from top to bottom, in all honesty. Zelina Vega got her shine. Shout out.
I was happy about that.
Yeah, she got her shine. She did pretty cool.
Good for her.
Yeah. All right. Next question. What is your favorite match that you've been involved in?
My favorite match I've been involved with is me versus ACH versus Davey Vega in a triple threat at the main event of Inspire Pro. That was like my return match to Inspire, because I was gone for like 2 years. And Albert was just kind of like, hey, can you put him on the show? And they're like, oh, put him in the main event with you. And I was like, no. And I was terrified, but it went so well. So that was my favorite match.
Ooh. How long did that go?
About 15 to 20.
15, 20? Did you win?
No. This was for the Pure Prestige title. I didn't win.
Lame. Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Anybody in the business that you haven't worked with yet that you would like to?
Yeah, plenty of people, man. I would like to work with Andy Dalton, because he's really good. I like to work with Greg James one-on-one. I've had like a triple threat, which I kind of worked with him, but I want to go one-on-one with them. There's big names that I'd like to work with. I'd love to have a match with Rich Swann, because I've been called Rich Swann.
You've told me about that before.
I started. Yeah. So I have like a really cool like mirror spot that I want to do, where people have been saying we're the same person forever. So I just want to do that.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, those are a couple of people that I want to work with.
Is Rich still in Impact? Or where's he at right now?
These are questions. I don't know.
I think he's still in Impact.
Good guy. Really good wrestler.
I'm not gonna cut my hair like him though.
No.
Keeping the dreads.
That's silly.
Very silly.
When he like pushed his hairline like to the top of his head, got those little stars and stuff. I'm like, I'm not about that, bro. Not about it.
All right. Next question. If you could work for any promotion right now, it's your choice. You can choose anyone. They all come at you with an offer. Who would you choose?
Anywhere in Japan.
So you like more of the hard-hitting style?
I would maybe New Japan. I love Japanese culture. So between being able to wrestle in Japan, and that's like
being embedded in the culture,
where just that's anime central. It's like everything about Japanese culture. And if I got a contract with them, then I'd get to go live there. So happy days, right?
Very nice. Do you know how to speak any Japanese?
No, but I've studied Japanese, so I have like just notes of learning like their alphabet. I got pretty good with like the first version of their alphabet. So they have like three versions. There's hiragana, katakana, and then there's kanji.
I can't repeat any of that.
Kanji is like the big one because it incorporates Chinese characteristics. So there's like a whole bunch where like hiragana and katakana, they take like syllables, and that's how they pronounce their words. So they take syllables, and each one they share the exact same amount of space. Like when you talk in English, you hold out like an O, like oh, like But in Japanese, every word's like it's like arigato. They all have the same amount.
Like punctuation, maybe.
A punctuation, like they all share the same amount of time spoken. You don't hold.
Oh
anything.
wow!
You don't hold.
It's real
anything
like
out. Right.
Period. It's
that's
like
why
done.
that's why it sounds choppy because every syllable is boom 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 boom, and they pronounce them all for the same amount of time, right? And then so think of hiragana and katakana as like their alphabet, and then think of kanji as like instead of it just being like this symbol means like KU.
Yeah.
Is like hiragana, but in kanji it's like this symbol means like waterfall.
Bruh.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so you can spell things out that can say a word that can mean a thing, or you can have a symbol that represents a word. One version of their language, and this is me talking from someone who barely, this might not be all the way right. One version of the language is like Japanese words. Like this is going to be, I think that's what hiragana is. These are Japanese words. The letters are going to represent Japanese. Katakana is going to be like this. They translate, so they're the same things, but they're sharper lines, and that's how you would like say like English words. Like if you were to say like hamburger, you would say hamburger.
Yeah.
And you'd use those letters to symbolize like
so
foreign words. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's a whole thing. That's why it's so hard to learn.
Yeah, that's wild.
Man, get on your language, America. We're trying to get like Japan. Honestly, that's actually really cool. I feel like I just learned something like +5 IQ.
I got you, bro.
I'm a video game nerd. Sorry, I had to work it in. But all right. Well, this has been a really good episode. We need to get you back for like a part 2.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's
really
tip of the iceberg. But yeah, I guess we got to end it here. We're busy men. We got things to do. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.